Hey friends, today we are going to make some butter buns. And I have several different variations of this recipe for different reasons. And this is gonna be the original, the first, the one that started it all. This recipe is fantastic. If you like butter, and who doesn't, you will like these butter buns. I'll just go ahead and go over the ingredients really fast. There are a lot of ingredients. This is a little bit more of a complicated recipe. It's not just a really quick whip up recipe, but if you want something that's really delicious, sometimes you have to put in a little bit extra work, and this is one of those recipes. I'm gonna have some warm water and some yeast, and that is just for flavor, so you can leave it out if you'd like. I have egg white powder. It's also called egg white protein powder or dried egg whites. I have cream of tartar, and I forgot to grab my Redmond real salt. And then also this recipe has two kinds of salt. I'm gonna be sprinkling with flake salt at the end. So 2 kinds of salt, 3 different things that have butter flavor. It's gonna be fantastic. We have some xanthan gum, which you can substitute with gelatin if you'd like. Allulose, arrowroot powder, which is optional. I like it because it adds a nice flavor and texture, but it does add a few carbs. Not many. It's still a very low carb end product, but you can leave it out or reduce it if you'd like. Then after the initial whipping, we are going to be adding some butter flavor. So we got some extra flavor coming from the butter extract. We have butter powder also, which is delicious in the egg white bread. And then we have a couple teaspoons of egg yolk powder, and you can use whole egg powder if you'd like. So instead of 2 teaspoons of yolk powder, you can do 2 tablespoons of whole egg powder. It is also possible to do fresh egg yolks. I think the powdered yolks work the best. You get the best end results, but if you don't have that, you can use like half of an egg yolk. You want just a little bit, not a lot. Then in the middle of baking time, we are going to brush with some melted butter and, like I said, sprinkle with flake salt. So I'm gonna get going with cooking in just a second, but before we do, let's chat about Jim, who is the sponsor of the video today. Jim is a whole food daily multivitamin. I am such a big fan of getting nutrition from our food, and with a healthy diet, you can get some nutrition from your food, but with the quality of soil and the depletion of minerals and water these days, it's just hard to get all of the vitamins and minerals that you need just from the foods that you eat. So to combat that, a lot of people start taking a multivitamin, and a lot of multivitamins on the market have synthetic vitamins and things that look good on paper, but maybe your body doesn't actually know what to do with. So I love how Jim has sourced all of these different vitamins, minerals, nutrients, probiotics, prebiotics from real food and put them together in this really tasty little bite. I'll show you what it looks like. So it's pretty much a little cookie. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. It's chewy, it's tangy, it's a citrus ginger flavor, and the flavor is really potent. It's definitely not bland. It tastes so good, and it's getting me all of those nutrients packaged in real food that my body can actually understand and utilize efficiently. So if Jim looks like something that you would like to add to your daily routine, you can get 50% off of your first month just by using my link and my coupon code. My link is dailygym.com/indigo, and then you can use that code indigo at checkout, and that will automatically get you your 50% discount on your first month. Thanks so much to Jim for sponsoring my adventure in the kitchen today. First thing I'm gonna do is preheat my oven to 325. And then I have done this recipe a few different ways. I have a silicone bun pan that I do really like using these for, and that's what the original recipe used. Today I decided to make some pull-apart butter buns. I do enjoy the pull-apart. It's really fun, and you get to use the little ice cream scoop. Anyways, I'm gonna do that in my 9x13 pan. I'm gonna try to get 12 in here, so they'll be a little bit smaller, and then pull apart. Because I'm cooking them in the pan, all pushed together, rather than separated in the bun pan, I'll probably cook them a little bit longer, but that's the only change that I'm making to the recipe. First thing I'm gonna do is add 1 1/4 cups of a little bit warm water into my bowl, and that is 295 milliliters. Try to get it exact here. Now I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of inulin, and this is just to let the yeast bloom. And it just enhances the flavor. You can, like I said, leave it out if you don't want to even do the yeast. I'm going to give that a quick stir to dissolve. And some people have asked if the yeast can grow with the allulose, because because allulose is a sugar, but interestingly, it doesn't. Yeast and allulose don't work together, so it doesn't work in the recipe. So having inulin or some kind of sugar like honey works really well. Next thing we're gonna do is sprinkle our 1 teaspoon of yeast over the top of the water and let it bloom just for a minute or so. All right, that has bloomed, and I'm just gonna stir the yeast in real quick. Next thing we're gonna add is the egg white powder, and we're gonna do 100 grams of egg white powder. And some people wonder how I measure this way. I just put my container on the scale, zero it out, and take out enough until it says minus the 100 grams that I want. Next, we're gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar, a 1/2 teaspoon of Redmond real salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and if you're wanting to replace this with gelatin, you can do a full teaspoon of gelatin. Next, we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of allulose, that's about 18 grams. And we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of arrowroot, and that is about 16 grams. I'm gonna do a quick mix on this so that it all gets kind of moistened. And then I'm gonna actually get my other ingredients ready that I will throw in after whipping. I'm just gonna get them prepared so that when the time comes, I can just throw them in real quick. That's ready to go. We're gonna do a 1/4 cup of butter powder, and that is 24 grams. My oven is preheated. Then we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of the yolk powder, and the yolk powder likes to clump, so mixing it up with the butter powder ahead of time does help it mix in well. Now heading over to the KitchenAid. All right, I'm gonna start the speed out on low and gradually increase it to high, and that just avoids splatter. And I'm gonna whip it for 5 or so minutes until I get a nice thick shaving cream type texture, and then I will add in my other ingredients. And I should probably plug it in. It's getting really thick, like marshmallow fluff or shaving cream. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my 1 teaspoon of butter extract. And I'm gonna throw in my butter powder and yolk powder, and I'm just gonna let this mix until it's fairly mixed up. I don't wanna really whip it at this point or else I'll lose the air in the batter. Getting another quick stir just to make sure I got everything from the edges mixed in. I'm gonna be using my ice cream scoop to scoop these out, and I believe this one is extra large. I will link to the exact one down below. I did coat it with coconut oil. That helps for it to, make nice little roll shapes. I find it helpful. Some people don't need to coat it at all, or you can spray it with spray, whatever you want to do. All right, I'm going to try to portion these out into about 12 little rolls. Always is tricky to get them portioned out just right. All right, I nearly got it perfect that time. I just have a little bit left over. It's always better to have a little bit left over than have not quite enough. I'm gonna pop these in the oven. I'll let you know how long, because I cook it in 2 separate intervals, how long before and how long after. Since I am cooking it in this pan, it might be a little bit longer than the original recipe. 15 minutes is up, and I'm gonna go ahead and brush them. They they still have a little bit of shape. They kind of went together a little bit. There are some recipes that keep their shape a little bit better, but these are still going to be fine. Of course, I have to use my butter mitt when I'm making this recipe. I just can't not. This is my 3 tablespoons of butter, and I am going to just brush it over the top and then sprinkle with flake salt. The other nice thing about using this pan rather than them separated is that the butter stays with the buns and can get reabsorbed. The other one, it could, you know, seep out a little bit. It doesn't too much, but you want to keep as much butter as humanly possible. Quick sprinkle with the flake salt, and then you could also do these with everything but the bagel seasoning. You could do it with like Parmesan and Italian seasoning. There are so many different options. You could do cheddar and have cheddar pull apart butter buns. So many different varieties that you could do with these. All right, throwing these back in the oven. The original recipe says for 10 minutes, but it'll probably be more like 15, maybe 20. I ended up doing 18 minutes for the second half of the bake time. These look real nice. They're not doughy anymore. They got a nice bounce to them. So I'm gonna do one last optional step to really make these buttery. I like to sprinkle some butter powder over the top. So you get the extra butter powder flavor, but then you also kind of get that flour taste, like that mouthfeel of having a little bit of flour on the bread. So I'm just gonna try to sprinkle this on top. I'll pull these out of the pan using the parchment paper and let them cool a little bit, and then we will pull some apart and do a taste test. Smells so good, so buttery. These have cooled a bit, so I'm gonna try to get them off of the parchment paper. All right, let's rip one of these open and check out the inside texture. Always so satisfying to do the pull apart. Ooh, that looks nice. There's the inside, the yolk powder and the butter powder. Give it a few little bubbles in there, but it's still like a denser egg white bread. If you want something really light and fluffy with a lot of bubbles, I have other recipes, but these ones are a little bit denser, and I actually really like these just eating them on their own. It's similar to a bagel where it's just denser, and you like it for certain things, and then a lighter bread would be used for other things. But I really like these just eaten plain. I'm gonna try a bite here. That butter powder on the top gives that flour feel in your mouth. Ooh. And these just scream butter. The butter flavor is what hits your mouth first and is with you the whole time that you are eating these. They are fantastic. I love these as a dipper for soup. That's really good. But honestly, I like to just eat them plain. They make a great snack, and they do taste the best fresh out of the oven like this, but you can get them back to nearly as good as fresh out of the oven just by putting them in the air fryer for 30 seconds to a minute, depending on your air fryer, and they get nice and warm and crisp on top again. Super, super good. As far as storage, I usually put these in some kind of an airtight container, either a Ziploc bag or just a Tupperware container with a nice tight lid. And I leave it on the counter for a day or two, and sometimes it gets all eaten up at that point. If it hasn't gotten eaten up at that point, I will throw it into the fridge, and then it'll last another several days. Okay, thanks for baking with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will just see you again in the next one.